welcome. We are going over chapter 7 of Asking the Right Questions, a guide to critical thinking. This chapter focuses mainly on evidence and the need for it. So why do we need evidence, guys? Because we're hit with claims every day, all day long. You're hit with different claims from products to politicians to even friends and family will make some claims. All reasoning that we encounter includes beliefs, these claims, and the communicator wants you to accept their beliefs as facts. They might be conclusions, they might be reasons, they might be assumptions, and we will call these factual claims. We're not going to believe these factual claims until we really investigate them. You should be asking, why should I believe it? Does that claim need evidence to support it, and how good is the evidence? Here's a great example. People may put quotes. My friends put them on all the time on Facebook. This one cracks me up. I put this one up on my Facebook. The trouble with quotes on the internet is that it's difficult to determine whether or not they are genuine, and that was said by Abraham Lincoln. Clearly, that was not said by Abraham Lincoln because he couldn't have possibly said anything about the internet. It wasn't around. But it kind of proved my point to people that to quit putting those up there unless you've really checked to see that they are, that the evidence is there that they actually said that. So how do we determine dependability? Asking lots of different questions. What's your proof? Where's the evidence? Are you sure it's true? How do you know that it's true? Why do you believe that? And can you prove it? So sources of evidence. When should we accept a factual claim as dependable? Well, guys, not very often. When the claim appears to be undisputed common knowledge, such as the claim weightlifting increases muscular body mass. Yeah, we kind of know that's true. We've kind of probably done even a little bit of research on our own, just thinking through things. So there are things that we know are true. For instance, we know that George Washington was our first president. When the claim is the conclusion from a well-reasoned argument. But be careful on that one, because a well-reasoned argument may seem well-reasoned to us unless we're thinking very, very critically about it. Or when the claim is adequately supported by solid evidence in the same communication or by other evidence that we know. And I would tell you, I'd look for both of these. I would never just take the evidence from the communicator. I would go look for evidence that I already know. Make sure there's nothing that refutes it. So major kinds of evidence, and these are kinds that aren't that great, guys. Intuition, personal experiences, case examples, testimonials, appeals to authority or experts, personal observations, research studies, and analogies. Besides research studies, pretty much all of these are terrible kinds of evidence, although they are all used. This is data from, I don't know if that's Star Trek, maybe. It says he doesn't make assumptions, which is why he's not human. Because we do. We use all these things. Data would never. All data would use would be data, very factual data. Although sometimes you need more than just the factual data to draw a conclusion or make a decision. How about intuition? We probably all experienced intuition. I just had a feeling I should, or I just had a feeling I shouldn't. Well, the problem with intuition, although, you know, there's been some study on it, you just can't use it as evidence because there's no way to judge if it's dependable. It's all in our own minds. Sometimes intuition's a great thing. Although sometimes the scientists think that maybe it's relying on a lot of subconscious thought that we would end up calling intuition. Personal experience as evidence. Well, guys, your personal experience and my personal experience may be very different things. Say, for instance, you run into someone from New York City, and they are just mean. Just mean people. And you tell your friends, if you're not from New York City, that people from New York are terrible. They're mean people. Well, that's ridiculous. That's just one tiny sample. That is not a way to make a generalization about any group of people. So because a single personal experience or even an accumulation of personal experiences is not enough to give you a representative sample of experience, personal experience often leads us to make hasty generalizations, and that's a fallacy we do not want to make. A lot of times people will use case examples as evidence. They'll pull out several individuals or several events and say, you know, here's a case example. Sometimes they're perfectly fine for evidence, but a lot of times they're appealing to our emotions. I was just watching something on the debate about immigration, and they brought out several people who were immigrants and shared very emotional examples, really personal testimonies, which we're about to look at, but they were used as case examples as to why certain things should be passed or should not be passed. While that is an important thing to think about, we don't want to let our emotions and that personal connection override the fact that we have to pay close attention to evidence and we have to seek other more relevant research and evidence. Testimonials as evidence. In most cases, we should pay little attention to personal testimonials until we find out more about it. Anytime that you've watched, I'm sure, infomercials on TV, I've always found that I can go to Amazon and look up on there and actually read other people's personal testimonials to see if the product really is as great as they say. Keep in mind, guys, that personal testimonies have been highly selective. They're not going to bring out people who don't like their product or don't agree with their viewpoint. If someone, for instance, is promoting or demoting abortion, they're not going to bring someone, if they're promoting the woman's right to choose, they're not going to bring someone who had a horrible experience with abortion. And on the flip side of that, if they are promoting right to life, they're certainly not going to bring someone up to give a testimonial saying that, you know, they had this abortion and they were glad they did. Personal interest, does the person have a personal interest in this? Certainly one thing to watch for is, are they being paid or compensated in some way? There's always omitted information. That means information that's been left out. And the human factor here, guys, we get wrapped up in the person to person, and we don't really, again, look for the true evidence, the true facts, the true data, so on and so forth. Appeals to authority as evidence. This one's interesting. A lot of people will appeal to authority. My doctor said that I should do this, or my therapist said this, or the grocer said to do this, so on and so forth. This is funny because, you know, sometimes our authorities are wrong. They find out later that there's new data and new evidence and new this and new that. While appealing to authority is something that we do, and it's not completely wrong, we want to be very, very, very careful to evaluate our authority. Whoever is in authority over you, from your boss to your doctors to all the way up to the president, we cannot say simply because they are in the position of authority that they are infallible. People are fallible. We're all people. So even if that authority figure says it, you still want to make sure that you go out and do research on your own. So what about including evidence in your writing and your speaking? Well, you are going to have to include evidence in your writing and in your speaking. So how do you go about doing this and making sure you do a great job? First, anticipate critical readers. In other words, put yourself in the mindset of a critical reader and read your own work. Just say, if I were questioning this, what questions would I bring up about the evidence that's in this paper? That is a great way to do it, guys. Determine whether you need more evidence. If you have a controversial conclusion, you better have lots and lots of evidence, because people will often know the evidence that refutes what you have, so you better have plenty of it. Your academic writing and evidence. When you commit to a writing project, you also commit to adhere to a set of writing conventions and expectations. Many of these conventions and expectations relate to writing style. So you're going to need to write in a very academic style and an academic tone. In academic writing, a high value is placed on research that is publicly verifiable, conducted according to the scientific method, and reviewed by the author's peers before publication. Guys, peer-reviewed journals are very, very, very important to use, and you can find those in our library here at the University of Phoenix. Those are probably the best place to look for evidence, are in peer-reviewed journals. That means that other people in that job, in that profession, have read over this and said, yeah, this seems like evidence that is fair and well-researched and well-balanced. Keep in mind, though, even peer-reviewed research can still have biases. The evidence can still be swayed certain ways. So always keep your eyes open as a critical thinker. Thanks, guys.